What's up, everyone? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron. Today we're checking out the new album SUPERBLOOM by the California metalcore band Silent Planet. This band has had quite the evolution throughout all of their albums. They formed in 2009, but they didn't release a full album until 2014, The Night God Slept, which had like this slam poetry kind of vocal style to it, which really set them apart from other bands within the genre. Their sophomore record, Everything Was Sound, is my personal favorite, and it's how I discovered them back in 2016. I also got a chance to see them do most of this album live for the August Burns Red Constellation Tour, which was absolutely phenomenal. If you get a chance to see Silent Planet live, I highly recommend it because they sound almost exactly the same way as they do on their albums. The band continued to grow a little bit more musically, creativity-wise in 2018 when they released When the End Began. Then in 2021, they released an absolute heater of an album, Iridescent, which was a lot of people's album of the year, and it started to take more of a step back from the slam poetry sound that I personally love, and kind of I gotta admit I miss it a little bit, but I also think that this new change in sound really helped them get noticed by more ears, because it's a problem that a lot of people had with the band. A lot of people didn't like the slam poetry kind of thing that they brought to it, but they liked the music and the distorted vocals and the choruses. So kind of weaning their way off of that, I feel like it's definitely helped them become a little bit more mainstream without really being more mainstream. I wouldn't say this is any like form of selling out whatsoever. Based off of SUPERBLOOM, at least the singles at least that I heard before, it seems like they were distancing themselves a little bit more from the slam poetry kind of sound. So honestly, going into this, I was a little scared that it was going to be a lot more mainstream and they were going to lose, that Silent Planet fingerprint that made them stand out so much from before. SUPERBLOOM starts off with the song Lights Off the Lost Coast, which is a statically instrumental that flows into the second song, Offworlder. It starts off by introducing a world that's almost Matrix-like. The whisper vocals build up into Garrett's, very, very familiar growl vocals. The bridge and the chorus, they were just all right. To me, this song does more in terms of story building and getting us into it. The outro is pretty solid, though, and it goes directly into the song Collider. The protagonist is now telling of betrayal and lies that they've had to face. The pre-chorus is a really cool riff in it, while the chorus is carried by soaring vocals that sound great. I'm not really into the verses on this song and their lack of music. It's mostly just like a synth thing going on, and because of that, it makes the chorus feel really, really repetitive for me. Since I wasn't too into the verses, the chorus was the only thing that was exciting, so every time it came around, which felt like a lot, it just felt like a bit much. Euphoria has a really heavy bass line in the verse, and the chorus features Alejandro Arnada, whose vocals fit the lyrical content in the chorus is absolutely beautifully. It's very euphoric. The bridge has like this turntable scratch thing going on in it, which I absolutely loved. The bridge has so much stuff in it, so many musical bits that you could continue to just pick out all throughout it with each listen. And I love how the story, this extraterrestrial kind of feel to it, is just growing and it's progressing. And then we have the song Dreamwalker, which has a touch of Garrett's old vocal style thrown in the verses, where the lines build up in aggression each time. The chorus is absolutely fantastic. I gotta admit, I didn't really like the lyrics in it that much, but the yelled vocals are so freaking good, and the breakdown leads into this addicting rhythm in the bridge, and I really enjoy the progressive style of this song, where you don't really know where it's going to go. Antimatter fits the story and the concept of the album, but at the same time, it's also inspired by a car accident that the band was in back in 2022 while on tour. Their van got into a collision, and I guess it was the middle of the night or something. They were all sleeping, and they woke up to the driver yelling, or one of their friends yelling, and the van just started tipping over, and it was a really bad experience for all, and a lot of guys ended up injured. Garrett had a concussion. It was brutal. So I love how this song stands alone in that sense. It has like a little touch of reality in it while also fitting the storyline that we're going through. I gotta admit, I disliked this song when I listened to it as a single, but it just makes so much more sense now when it's thrown into the album. I really dig the synth melody, especially in the chorus with the distorted vocals, how it just has this pulsing kind of feel to it. At first, it just, I don't know, it sounded like every other band, like any band could have written this. So it just didn't really have a whole lot of originality to it. But within the whole album, I definitely feel it. I also like the vocals and the verses well, and the imagery and the lyrics are absolutely brilliant. This song completely turned around for me once I listened to it within the album, because otherwise I felt like it was basically average, and now it's quite a bit better. Signal was another interesting one. It's about the end of the world, apparently. At least that's what Garrett said during a concert before playing it. It starts off really heavy with some like otherworldly sounding breaks in there. I don't know, it just sounds extraterrestrial. The whole song feels like a breakdown too, with a bunch of squeals thrown in there, and I love the really low vocal growls, which stand out a lot more on this song for some reason, especially when it goes into hyperdrive and the whole song just starts picking up its pace. To me, this is one of the more creative songs on this album, just because it's not straight, verse, chorus, bridge. It follows a different type of pattern. Anunnaki keeps the heaviness going, starting off on a really aggressive chorus. The guitar has a genty quality to it. It reminds me a lot of Everything with Sound, which I enjoyed a lot. The vocals become inhuman as it goes into the breakdown. And the outro on this thing is one of my favorite moments on the song, as they're kind of describing ancient deities, which is basically what Anunnaki is. Then we have the Overgrowth, which has this really smooth, jazzy intro, and the vocals fit the mix by being very gentle until about halfway through, where Garrett comes in, where he's just growling away. Again, this one reminds me of one of their old songs. Reminds me a little bit of Depths, like I feel like it could fit right in there with Depths, specifically because of the progression of it. It starts off kind of smooth and it builds up, specifically in storytelling. It's not quite as complicated or poetic, I guess you could say, as anything in the Depth series, but it definitely has that musical progression to it. I'm pretty sure, but I think Nexus has some string synth stuff in there, or maybe it's just a unique guitar tone that I just couldn't really pick out. I really like the chorus, as it sounds like, I don't know, like a summoning kind of thing, or like a cult, which also fits the lyrics really well. There's a lot of throwbacks to Everything with Sound, even saying the album name and constantly throwing out different songs off of the album. Finding all these little Easter eggs was quite a joy for me, specifically because the music was really well done too. It's very proggy. This one is probably my favorite song on this album. It's really hard to pick one out. But because of all the throwbacks and like every time I heard a different thing, I'm like, oh, there's one there. It made it a little bit more exciting for me. And then we have Reentry, which is just an instrumental that has horns. And it goes directly into the closing track, which is also the title track, SUPERBLOOM. This one goes back to their car accident. It's probably the most mainstream sounding song, I guess you could say. It reminds me so much as Spirit Box's The Void off of their new EP, which I will be doing a review on that as well. I know the two songs musically sound very euphoric in a sense, and they just remind me so much of each other. The build-up going into the bridge is just a thing of beauty, and I don't know, this is just a really good closing track. I love how this album just feels just so concise. This album flows so well. Like I said, it's very concise. It's like it's just one thought. They came in with a concept and they stuck to it. And all the songs just flow so well. Even if the songs are really different from each other, which some of them are, it just fits. It just works. And even though some of the songs are based in reality, such as SUPERBLOOM and also Antimatter, they still fit the concept and the story that they're trying to tell. The songwriting in it is very unique and the lyrics were great. They're not as poetic, for sure, as some of their past stuff, but I feel like Garrett was kind of numbing it down and trying to keep it simple because it's dealing with something that is pretty tragic for them and pretty scary. And I feel like his desire to keep it more simple made it a little bit more vulnerable for him, because he isn't using a lot of metaphors. There's still some thrown in there, but when you're just straight out and open and you're just telling it how it is, it makes it pretty vulnerable. It is a very vulnerable situation. They posted about it on Instagram and their social medias. My only issue with this album is there's a lot of whispered vocals, which to me became pretty tiring, because I mean it's the same thing almost over and over again. It's always accompanied by the same kind of synth beat, And when the song starts off with that kind of thing going on, you basically know how the entire song is going to go, which is mostly like the first half of the album. Once you get to the back half, everything kind of becomes more chaotic. So I would say that this album becomes stronger as you go through it, which helps a lot too. If you start at the beginning, for me personally, where I didn't enjoy that much, I enjoy Garrett's more slam poetry, aggressive, kind of in-your-face vocal style, as opposed to just the clean vocals that are just whispered at you throughout the entire thing. When you start to get tired of it, that's when it changes. So it's not really something that's a huge complaint. Listening to this album back to back as many times as I did, it's something that I started to notice. It was very, very, very apparent. So yeah, with all that said, I gotta give SUPERBLOOM by Silent Planet a 8.8 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to dislike that rating, and I don't know, maybe this review. But yeah, I don't know. I like the older stuff more. I'm not against growth, and I do think that this sounds very good. But there's just something, that slam poetry style is just so unique to me, and it's what made me fall in love with them. So taking that away, it does make it a little bit rough for me. But leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of SUPERBLOOM, what you would rate it, what your favorite song is. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. Doing something like that helps me out so much with YouTube's algorithm. And if you want to help support me and my channel, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell icon. And I just thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me sit here and talk about music. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.